Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Half History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and I wanted to bring to your attention the story of a Medal of Honor recipient. I recently went to the Medal of Honor Museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and highly recommend it to anyone that wants to understand the sacrifice given by the armed forces of the United States, and it was that trip that inspired this video. The Battle of Gettysburg, with its nearly 200,000 combatants and over 50,000 casualties, changed the lives of everyone who took part in those 3 days of July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1863. When the dust settled, 64 Medals of Honor were awarded to men who participated in the battle and who sacrificed themselves or performed heroic acts beyond the call of duty. One of those men was Francis Jefferson Coates, also known as simply Jefferson Coates. Like many men of the Civil War era, he wanted to join the ranks and fight in the bloody Civil War. He was born in Grant County, Wisconsin in 1843. He was the oldest of all of his siblings, and when he turned 18, he enlisted to fight for the Union in the 7th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment on September 2nd, 1861. The 7th Wisconsin would become part of the Iron Brigade, one of the most celebrated and lauded units of the Civil War. In August 1862, Coates got his first taste of combat at the Battle of Second Manassas. In that fight, his brigade would fight the Stonewall Brigade at Bronner's Farm, holding off the opposing side's most celebrated brigade. The overall battle was a victory for the Confederacy, and with the victory, Robert E. Lee marched into Maryland on his first invasion of the North. Coates' unit would soon follow, and at the Battle of South Mountain would be wounded. The 7th Wisconsin fought bravely at Antietam just a few days later. The next year, Coates and his regiment moved north again to stop Robert E. Lee's second invasion of the North. Outside of a little town called Gettysburg, the largest battle on the North American continent erupted. The Iron Brigade, part of the 1st Corps of the Army of the Potomac, arrived on the west side of the town and engaged with James Archer's Tennesseans and Alabamians in Herbst Woods and McPherson's Ridge. The commander of the 1st Corps, John Reynolds, would be killed at Herbst Woods, and as the Tennesseans and Alabamians came into contact with the Iron Brigade, the fighting broke out into hand-to-hand fighting at some points. During the melee, Coates was bayoneted but refused to stop fighting. He continued to engage with the enemy until he was shot in the face, blinding the 19-year-old. He groped around desperately, being unable to see, but he could hear the roar of battle all around him. A Confederate officer, noticing his struggle, grabbed the young man and sat him under a tree. During the course of the battle, his comrades recovered him, and he was sent to a hospital in Philadelphia. He would be discharged from the hospital in September 1864. Permanently blinded, Coates learned how to read Braille and also learned how to make brooms to keep himself financially afloat. He would be awarded the Medal of Honor on June 29, 1866. The citation reads, "For unsurpassed courage in battle where he had both eyes shot out." He would marry in 1867 and move to Dorchester, Nebraska. At the age of 36, he caught pneumonia and passed away on January 27, 1880. He is buried in the Dorchester City Cemetery. I hope you all enjoyed this quick story about one of the country's Medal of Honor recipients. I think it is always good to hear these stories to help put the war in perspective, but to also understand the war from a different angle, from the ground up, knowing who these people were who are listed on the muster rolls and casualty lists. Each one of them had an identity, a family, a loved one, and a community from which they came.